talking about hardware. Bigger, brighter, and bolder is not everything in modern display and LED world. Products are becoming more refined, smarter, and greener. And I'm happy to discuss these topics with you. You're the leaders in the space, so really looking forward to it. And as we said in the keynote this morning, we're at a crossroads right now. LED is set to overtake LCD in terms of market value. You're smiling, Rick. You don't believe that?
I'm a happy person, so don't worry.
Oh, okay. So the question is, let's start with LCD. Is LCD dead?
Well, I think it's the wrong question, right? Because LCD is there, and there's a huge demand. As Kay this morning presented as well, there's a huge demand for digital experiences. It's really up to us, how we, vendors and integrators and CMS partners, how we make sure our customers understand how we can deliver right communication. If we are able to do so, I think there's a huge demand for LCD and LED. So I'm not worried. I'm actually quite excited.
Okay.
Yeah, I think LCD, of course, under pressure. I think the size is an issue.
So
above 98
the maximum size of it.
98 inch, if you and 105 inch, we looked into it, doesn't fit in the elevator. So bring an LED. Video walls, I think, are under pressure in the future. But there are many categories in LCD where it still makes very much sense. High brightness is one. The resolution. So yes, LCD and LED are on par in price, but not in resolution.
Absolutely, I agree with you guys. If I can just add one thing is, if we look back at a few years, we've seen that LCD has become extremely slim, extremely light. I remember not long ago that you had to strengthen the wall to put a 75-inch in a classroom, for example. You know, it was that heavy. So now it's becoming a commodity. It's extremely reliable, even for shop window, even for outdoor, high brightness, it's super reliable, a little bit too much maybe. LCD is really at the peak of its history. So there are new technologies around coming in, like LED, but also e-paper and other technologies. So LCD is there for long.
Okay.
For me.
And just to add a few things, LCD is not dead. It is a mature technology, but there are still progresses to be made in material, in backlight technology, green elements, so power-saving modes. So we still have progress to bring into the LCD. And the other thing, we're talking about the high brightness, and we spoke earlier during your presentation about the out-of-home, digital out-of-home. LCD represents a standard for digital out-of-home, except for the spectacular billboards. But when you talk about the city or smart cities, they do require to have a standard size, 86-inch, which is a 2 square meter. Yeah. What you call in the industry is six sheet. 75-inch is another standard. So that is the advantage today that LCD has over the LED. Now, eventually, and we're talking about the future, of course, in theory and on paper, LED should take over the LCD. Because LED is a direct view, LCD is based on double polarization, which means it's not, in paper, not very efficient. But in reality, today, the LCD still has advantage of efficiency and uniformity that LED still has to look for it.
Yeah. Alan, you were touching on the innovation that's still happening in that space. I mean, a couple of years ago, we were walking across the floors at ISE thinking, well, LCD is kind of like leveling out, nothing new coming out there, or just evolutionary steps, small steps there. But you mentioned a couple of points, and Vincent, you also touched on it. There is still innovation in LCD. Can you give just a couple of examples?
Of course, the backlight technology, number one. The efficiency of the backlight, how do you, because that's where most of the power is being consumed, is in the backlight. By adapting new material, by adapting new ways, new drivers to guide that backlight, to make the backlight more efficient, the same way that the LED industry is making more efficient panels. We use the same technology for the backlight to make it more efficient. We use better material that have better heat dissipation. We use material that can sustain for longer periods of time. So now your screen can be amortized over 8 to 10 years rather than 5 years. So all these things, they still have progress to be made. And of course, the remote monitoring systems of the LCDs. So how do I control my LCD to make it efficient throughout the day? And that's where all of us manufacturers are introducing a lot of remote monitoring features with more and more sensors inside, a little bit like in the car industry where you add more and more sensors. So we can really monitor and take advantage of that features to make it more efficient.
So you can almost say a software-defined screen.
It is a software-defined screen, and we do bring all of us manufacturers more firmware updates more and more often. Yeah. We do introduce all of us together some AI features to predict where the screens are going to go. So this is a trend that you see on the LCD. That's why I say we still have a few years to develop and to make it even better. Yeah.
Martijn, one of the innovations, the big innovation steps we saw when we were like power consumption, no big steps there. And then you came out with the QE line. And also, Rick, Sony is very, very strong on power consumption of screens. Can you tell us a little bit how these innovations happen?
Can I start, Rick? Yeah. So e-paper, Vincent mentioned it, that it's not LCD technology, but the inspiration was how low can you go in power? Now with e-paper you can go to 0 power, yeah. But it has a few limitations. You cannot show video, the color accuracy starts to be better, it's not 100% yet. So we thought, okay, the next step is look at LCD. And Alan mentioned it, the backlighting technology, we look into it. The transparency of the filters, we look into it. And we have now today a 65-inch running at 40 watt. And it's not something in the spec sheet. You can go to the booth, you see the power meter, and it's a C-rated display. And I think it's not the end of it. So that's our dedication to sustainability and a lot of efforts in the R&D, because we all know the R&D nowadays is in Asia, and you need to really inspire people with the concerns we have on this part of the world. And if you collaborate, yeah, you get these results.
Yeah. Rick, how do you do that at Sony?
At Sony, yeah. So I think, first of all, as Alan said, it's partly a commodity, true. And on the other side, as you said, Vincent, it's almost too reliable. And at the same time, as you said, Martijn, there's a lot of innovations going on. I think sometimes we maybe forget what we're doing it for. It's in the end customer. So the end customer wants to have an engaging experience. And for that engaging experience, we want to deliver the right quality. So picture quality still remains the #1 topic. Anti-reflection is very critical because in the end, you need to see the right message. As you mentioned this morning, it's all about data management, so the right message at the right time. So the partnership together with our CMS partners is maybe not the type of innovation you were looking for, but it's extremely critical in doing the business together and in the end delivering the right message. And then indeed the sustainability part. Of course, as you have been driving yourself very much the make, move, use and reuse topic, which is, it's kind of a revolution, to be honest. I mean, we just really started. And at the same time, power management is making all the difference in these days. With big tenders, our partners are really keen to understand power efficiency. And total cost of ownership is a simple term, but it makes all the difference when we are talking with our partners these days. So small innovations maybe, but really changing our business.
Yeah. And Vincent, you mentioned also materials and becoming slimmer, lighter, all of these things. That's many things we see coming from Samsung.
Yeah, absolutely. If we talk about sustainability, the choice of the material, even the usage of water, we're talking a lot of power, but the usage of water is something we need to be very cautious of. And we've done a lot of improvement. We've even shared our patent to the market, to the industry. It was not this ISC, but the previous one, where we completely open all the improvement and research and development findings that we've had, limiting the plastic, of course, and also on the recycling recycling thing. We see a more and more circular economy request from the market. So the products are very reliable now, but the customer always want to have the latest technology. But this product will no longer go to waste. They will beneficiate to other customers. So we see that it's a value change from the manufacturer, but also the system integrators, the resellers. You said that before. We've put a lot of effort, all of us, in our screens for many years to reduce the power consumption, for example. But no one was using it until the cost of power went so high, and then everybody was asking, how can the manufacturer do to reduce my power bill? But it's already there, you know. Yeah. So that was something also that I wanted to say. Our channel is responsible for educating the customers and to put in place with the remote management solution how, with the AI, even with the IoT, all this connected. You were calling connected signage before, and I really like this because everything now can help to enhance and enrich the content and the impact, but also on the usage and the power consumption and all this. Yeah.
And I think that educational part is a really important one, because you're giving to the market those features, but you also need to educate the market about these features, how to use them, how to implement them. Martin, you were mentioning innovation, and the development is being done mainly in Asia. What's the role of China and Asia in this whole innovation game?
I think you mentioned it, I think, in the introduction, that 31%, if I read well, of the production capacity in the world is coming from China. So we have a big facility all over the world. In Thailand, we have production plant. In Europe, in Poland, we have an 8.5 million TV production plant. But the supply chain, the raw material, is many times coming from there. And also the R&D engineers. We all know that more engineers graduate in India and in China than in Europe and America. So you have to rely on those partnerships. And I think great companies, I think we're all great companies, we work a lot together with Asia, with the supply chain, with the engineers, to bring those technologies to here. And in the same time, we all know that China is also driving the sustainability market itself. With I'm always surprised if I'm there in cities like Shenzhen, how many electric cars you see, how the buses already in 2015 were all electric. So we must admit that a lot of technology is from there. We embrace it and bring this to the European and American market.
So it's about orchestrating all these innovations and combining them finally into products that you're selling here in the Western markets.
Yeah, and that means that your sales, your business management, your R&D, all should work as a team together and not be afraid of each other. That is the best process to get things done.
But also the COVID has forced us to completely redefine the location of our factories. We were stuck because the Vietnamese factories were locked down for a few months. So we were super happy when the Chinese factories were locked down because ours were in Vietnam. But when the COVID hit Vietnam, we were stuck also. So now it's completely reallocated, and we have relocated in Europe and not far in Slovakia for us, in Poland for you. We have relocated a lot of factories, and R&D center are in Poland or in different countries in Europe. So yeah, Europe is again the place to innovate. Yeah.
And as far as Daniscan is concerned, we are a much smaller scale manufacturer because we're more focused on the high brightness and digital out of home. So we do everything in Taiwan. Chinese culture, but Taiwan is, we founder our own product in Taiwan. All our own drivers, our own glass, everything is made in Taiwan. So we rely less on China. Maybe some very raw components and some steel comes out of China, but most of it is Taiwan.
So these are the de-risking and de-hubbing conversations that you are having right now.
Yeah.
If I can add to that. So there's many different dimensions to about China, and it looks like it's a big danger, but like we explained already, you better embrace it, I guess. Not I guess, we better embrace it. At the same time, from a product perspective, all fine, a supply chain fine, but and maybe it's a little bit like the elephant in the room, but I think the partnership and the reliability of the organization is also a big feature. So reliability in pricing, in servicing, in supply chain, in solving problems, etc., makes a big difference. So I can see a lot of opportunities with the Chinese coming in from that perspective.
Yeah. So, when summarizing it, LCD is still alive and kicking, definitely, and it's the workhorse for the industry. It's in terms of numbers, so units, definitely the big market. But we also wanted to talk about LED. LED is still much more fragmented in terms of supply side. So, where do you see LED currently standing? What's the role of LED within your portfolio? Who wants to?
Well, first of all, it's a question of size, as my colleagues said before. LCD is very good in below 85, basically. Everything above is already LED. We see that micro LED has also helped us to do all-in-one product. We have one of them presented in our booth here. And the all-in-one micro LED is a little bit the TV of tomorrow. It's already sold as a TV in the consumer business.
Eventually, we need to come up with a definition what micro LED really is and means, but that's a different discussion. We don't want to have it here.
Let's say everything below 1. Everything below 1 should be called micro LED. That's my definition. I think it's kind of a common approach.
Yep.
But the all-in-one is also something very important because it takes less than an hour to install.
Yeah.
And we all know that one of the constraints of LED is the difficulty to install it on a structure. The next constraint is still the power consumption. It's still really, really high compared to LCD, for example. So there are a lot of research now to reduce that, but make it easier to install and to use with less power is really the next challenge for LED.
Martin, any?
Yeah, so the micro LED chip on board, but we should not go too much in detail. But I think on the power consumption, there are big improvements. The flip chip with the wire bonding, that is then out. Drivers that are more efficient. Standby modes on the all-in-one, because nobody realized that if an LED is black, it still consumes a lot of power. You can reduce it, but
that's still common practice.
Exactly.
It's not really powering it down, all the pixel cards and everything.
Exactly. And from market perspective, I think what drives the all-in-one business until now, also in Philips, we were not able to make it a real distribution product. You know, it's a difficult product. You need to configure it. You need to ship many parts. Your sales need to understand all these parts that they need to ship, etc., etc. The long installation times, and that with the all-in-one starts to be solved. And I think so. Apart from being smart, what LED will be in the future, it also is a real distribution product which helps to get the adaptation in the market higher.
So, Alan, you're happy that you're shipping LCD products?
We do have an LED product that replaces really the video walls. But the basic problem with the LEDs is the power consumption. And that's a technology issue. When you do a 4K content, for instance, we're talking about 3.8 million pixels versus a backlight on the LCD that has maybe 10,000 LED pixels. So even though the LEDs are much smaller and they consume less power, but you still do the math, there's no way that LED will ever be able to be as efficient as LCD for the same brightness level.
But in spite of the film...
In spite of the double polarization, which takes 50% plus 50%, so you really have only 25% transparency plus less the color filters, another 40%.
Yeah.
So you have 10% transparency. In spite of all that, the LED industry cannot match the efficiency of LCD. And that's pure math because of the number of LEDs you need. Yeah. So even the micro LEDs, and the advantage is, like we say, is the size. So we were talking about the state of the LEDs. What are we looking for LEDs? As long as we want to do something bigger than the 100-inch LCDs, or to have unusual formats, this way, LED has the clear advantage. Will it ever be able to take over the LCD? That is the question that we don't know. Maybe with some absolutely new development in engineering. But the way it progresses today, that sticking point is still going to be there.
And there's still also on the big price differential between LCD and LED today. Are you seeing that gap narrowing?
It was a very generic question, right? How about LED? Well, so despite what's already mentioned, I think our large flexibility, our key drivers of course, LED. I think in Sony we also see new opportunities like automotive industry, designing, virtual production. We have fantastic projects which wouldn't have been possible without our LED solution and the quality related to that. So in that sense, for our industry, maybe not directly retail related, but there's huge opportunities there.
Yeah. Do you see, you were asking, is LED ever going to replace all of LCD? I don't see that either, but where do you see the replacement? We talked about large sizes.
If you keep asking the question replacement, there's no need to focus on the replacement so large at this stage.
We can talk about replacement. Projectors will be definitely replaced by LED. Yeah. We see that in cinema, for example, and it's super easy to understand. If you have a projector in a cinema room, you need to turn off the light completely because the surface where you project the light is white. So only if you put the people completely in the dark, then their brain will make the white a black. If you have an LED screen, you can still watch a movie even in daylight. Well, you don't want to because you don't want to see what the people next to you are doing. But at least you can use that for conferences. You can use that for events. And this is a replacement, definitely, where we see that.
But in terms of price, so a 110-inch nowadays, or 135-inch, which is mainstream in corporate, is on par with a video wall. Is really on par. But you have a resolution issue, because you buy a 4K, 8K or more video wall at the same price of a full HD LED. So if you care about the resolution, then it's not. So if you want a 4K 135-inch, that's definitely a much higher price. But on a full HD, it is compatible nowadays. The products are compatible, price compatible.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about on the complexities of LED. Where do you see a lot of education requirements still in the market, or have integrators become adapted now, know how to use it, know how to apply it? You're laughing.
This is the obvious question, of course. I think it's all about partnership, right? So we need to work together. Every partner in the table here has their own partner programs. They have their own educational systems. So it's all about working together, and then we can really attack this market. But yes, it's true. We need to work more together than ever because it is complex. True.
Yeah. And you talked about the all-in-one. Is that only the first step in that direction?
We have the same problem with LED that we had with LCD. Every manufacturer had its own way of integration and setting up the product and so on. Now it's pretty much standard and extremely easy to do. Even end customers sometimes are claiming they can install their own LCD panels. I don't think it's a good idea still, but that's how it's received on the market, as something very easy. LED is very complex still. So indeed, partnership is the key, and we really rely on this fantastic community of system integrators who are extremely passionate, and they also have the room to bring their own value to the customers and to us.
And but on the system on chip, we launch a product that has the same system on chip in our smart product as in our LCD. So we as manufacturers make the products more comparable. And if you buy an all-in-one, you should have the same out-of-the-box experience as a large format LCD.
And that's bringing up an excellent point. You already touched on it. It's the software running behind these things. And we still see that sometimes LED is running on different operating systems or needs different drivers, needs different software packages than LCD. Where do you see the road there? We were talking about software-defined displays.
Okay. It's a very important topic. As I said before, connected signage is really what we need, what the market needs now. We see AI is affecting the content, and hopefully it will reduce the cost and the time of making content. Screens are now connected, all of them, I would say, even LED, all-in-one, and so on, with a system on chip or external players, which means they should be connected to everything. At the moment, they are connected to their own CMS, but we need to connect them to IoT. And we have demonstrated at ISC with smart things that we can control the content and the behavior of our screens, whatever the screen, whatever the technology. But what I see on the market, unfortunately, is that whatever the technology, most of the time, the screens installed in stores, for example, are there for decoration, to create emotions and to capture eyes, but that's about it. It's not measured to be an impactful device for the sales. So it should also be connected to the POS in order to measure the impact of a specific promotion. And this promotion should be made on the fly, based on the stock level, based on the weather, based on everything. And everything should be done on the fly. Yeah. This is not, we're not there yet, but we're heading very, very fast.
The retail media market is currently exploding, and they are demanding that.
Yeah, but I don't think we should we shouldn't package all the retail applications together. If you sell clothing, yes, that makes a lot of sense. If you're a bank or insurance company, that's a retail. It's just a non-physical good retail, or a travel agency, or a real estate agency. So that package does not apply to other retail environment, and that's still retail. You just retail a service instead of retailing goods. So we shouldn't package, and that's where our integrator partners and the CMS partners still have a lot of value. We talked before, you talked before, there's not one solution CMS that is good for everybody. And this is where the integrators really, by us giving them an easier tool to install and all that, they can spend more time to customize the product specifically to their customers, to the end user.
Yeah, so in my opinion, the CMS should be for the integrator, for the end user. We are not in that space. We can offer it, but we don't like actually. But we should provide an RDM platform. You mentioned it already, Alan. That integrates all the technologies, provides APIs, and then other partners do what they want. But we still talk about LED, I believe. That was with LED not the case, and now we have that on the market. So LED is not another technology in terms of RDM than all the other technologies available, and that's, I think, a big step.
I'm very glad that this is happening between LED and LCD, because it's still a big pain point for the industry. All the different operating systems that are running both on LCD and LED gives really a hard time to the software companies, to the integrators, to work with mixed fleets of hardware devices. So my final round of questions, and I know this is a real mean question. Are we going to see some sort of standards across different hardware platforms that makes life easier to work with different displays?
Standards in hardware.
Standards in operating systems for the hardware, because that's the touch point, the control point.
Well, I can only talk on behalf of Sony, and we have a very straightforward strategy that we have an open platform and that we want to work with partners. And in that sense, we need to do that together, and that's our aim. So
that's very good.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, we have actually also an open platform, so we should collaborate more on this. And it's what I said, API first, but we take care of the hardware integration. So if you take an e-paper, that agent that we run on the e-paper is exactly the same as we run on the LED. And then on top of that, our partners build their own application, their own CMS. That is our philosophy today.
Very good.
Because it's a provocative question, let me go with a provocative answer.
Yeah,
we only have 5
we're running out
seconds.
of time.
Provocative answer. I think we already have a standard, and the standard is the web.
Okay.
And if you look at what happens in our customers, they have a CMS to control the content they push to the web, social media, their own e-commerce website, and so on. They need another one to manage digital signage, which I think it's crazy because we all use exactly the same technologies. And there is another CMS to manage advertising. And this is also crazy because we all use web. So at some point in the very near future, everything will merge.
Okay.
That's my belief.
I hope this will also happen on the hardware side, on the operating system side. But we can have this discussion. We have 2 days. I'm happy to have that. Alan, anything from your side?
Yes, we need to provide the platforms where you can use any kind of CMS. Having a cross-industry standard could be a limiting factor. Meaning, if we all adapt, you would have to go to the lowest common denominator. So some manufacturers will want to offer more features that are not part of the standard. So I'm not sure if I understood your question correctly. If it is a platform that can accept all the CMSs, yes, we should all aim towards that.
Yeah, but today it's a nightmare, even between different hardware versions.
We each try to do a little bit more, and there is a point where we have to go over the standard. So,
okay,
but that's why we're launching VXT.
We'll have this discussion. We'll have this discussion later. Okay, thank you very much. Very insightful. You'll be around for more discussions, more questions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.